what we have done is broken everything out as in the brochure with office and retail. So we're starting out with Pullman, and we're giving a snapshot of what's happened over the years. In 2011 and 2012, there were 9 overall commercial office sales for a volume of 1,900,000. In 2013, there were 4 for a total volume of 454. And in 2014, we have, I need to do this, but I want to say some things real quick. Okay, first of all, we break the towns into categories of northwest, east, south, and central business. So the statistics that I'm going to give you about Central Business District are significant. All of the areas in Pullman, the vacancies are down. So the occupancy is up and rents are basically staying stable. The Central Business District's central vacancy rate dropped from 10% last year to 7% this year. So that's a significant increase in occupancy. Some of the sales. I wanted to talk about a couple of different transactions that happened in the market. 225 North Grand Avenue was owned by the Washington State University, sold to Sterling Savings Bank, which is now Umpqua, and that sold for $233 per square foot. The Munchies up on Northeast Colorado Street, which was everybody that wants to do retail marijuana in the city of Pullman's first choice of a location to go to. And unfortunately for them, fortunately for the university, it was not an area that they were allowed to go. Sold for $128 a square foot, and then right next to that on WSU's campus, also on, it says 106 North Main, but it's actually on Colorado. That was the Lucky Dude, sold for $118 per square foot. Office and retail in Moscow, number of sales between 11 and 12 was 13 for a total volume of 3,532,000. In 13, there were a total of 4 sales for a volume of 1,006,000. I gotta go to my notes. The vacancies in Moscow were up in the east, the west, the south. They were down in the Central Business District and the north. What made Moscow's filling up downtown is easy to see. The north increase dropped from a 10% to a 5% vacancy, and that is where the Canon Press took over the old building, Moscow Body, and opened that up for their new bookstore. And then we have an antique store and the Habitat store, and up north Moscow, the old Global Credit Union is now a used car dealership. So we have some increases in office occupancy. Some of the specific sales, this was talked about, the Daily News building at 403 South Jackson Street, sold for $44 a square foot. That's 22,000 square feet of building that was being underutilized by the Daily News and is now perfectly occupied by Economic Modeling Specialist Inc., which is our growing technology. I think I mentioned last year that MZ had been acquired and then resold to a company, and it's owned by CareerBuilder.com. So it's owned by a company that intends to keep it on the Palouse, intentionally kept it on the Palouse, and intends to grow it on the Palouse. 217 South Main is our highest price per square foot, a 2,000 square foot building adjacent to Wells Fargo, sold for $102.50 a square foot. And then the old Damon Insurance building sold for $64.70 per square foot. That is currently being renovated by a company that is calling it the Anchor. So that's to anchor the north side of the Central Business District. With that, what I'd like to do is to stay with the office and retail, and I'm asking Holly Chetwood to step in with some leasing updates.
Thanks, Shelley. It's great to see you all today. Thanks so much for coming out. Let's see if I can handle the PowerPoint here. We'll go ahead and start with Pullman again. Compared to this same time last year, the leasing activity has probably doubled. And interestingly, we've had a lot of inquiries from individuals, churches, organizations that are maybe operating out of their homes that are looking for opportunities to get a storefront and expand their businesses. like everything else, inquiries for Pullman compared to Moscow have been different. In Pullman, this is an example of some of the spaces that have been filled that have been empty for quite some time. Puffer Belly Depot, which was occupied by a driver's school for kids. And what we've seen a lot of landlords do is be a lot more aggressive with the types of leases that they're offering. So we're seeing a lot more modified gross leases, some gross leases, but that tends to be more tenant friendly. And we've seen a lot of vacant spaces go because of that. Another one that filled is there's some smaller office spaces on the second level of the Coldwell Banker Tomlinson real estate building. Those were filled by some churches that are just starting up that have been operating out of some homes, as well as some individual counselors. And then most recently, we're working on putting together, there was a large church in the Tractortown building along Grand Avenue that has been vacant for some time, and we're working on an individual from Moscow, actually, that owns the Perch, and he's turning it into a nightclub. So from one extreme of the church to a nightclub. Let's see, what other trends are we seeing over in Pullman? Probably the most notable long-term lease that we saw was the Siemens Corporation is moving from Moscow over to Airport Road next to Strata in a brand new building there. And that was a long-term lease at $15 a square foot, triple net. Some of these other ones, as you can see, were smaller ones. Puffer Belly Depot, $12 a square foot, modified gross. And the one on Grand in the Coldwell Banker building, $9 a square foot, and it's a very short-term lease. And the Tractortown Square, $12 a square foot, but triple net. Typically, the newer, nicer, more A-class buildings are still getting about $1 a square foot per month at triple net rates. Trends going forward that we've seen, we've been so busy with the marijuana retail industry. It's been crazy. I had no idea we would talk about pot so much in our office, but so we've been spending a ton of time trying to find locations, working with Pete Dickinson in Pullman, because there are very, very few options. And if there is an option, there are very few land and building owners that are willing to take that risk to take that kind of a tenant in. So to be continued. We're still working through that. Okay, we'll go ahead and move on to Moscow. Moscow's been really interesting. Tons and tons of really small office spaces have been in demand. Really inexpensive, less than 500 square feet. At this same time last year, there's a building on North Main, or South Main actually, called the O'Connor Building. The second level was, I think there were maybe 2 offices filled in there, but the majority of them vacant, as well as North Almond, not North Almond Business Park, but Almond Street Plaza, which is just on 3rd and Almond, was almost, I'd say, 50% vacant. And within that time frame, those are both now completely filled. We see a lot of counselors, masseuses, so really high demand right now for very small, less than 500 square feet, affordable office space in downtown, and we just don't have them right now. Let's see here. Office spaces in strip malls, downtown, older ones that are, say, 1,000 square feet or larger, up to 5,000 square feet, do tend to be sitting and staying vacant. Like I said, some landlords who tend to be more tenant-friendly and tenant-focused, like Jim Robinson here, are trying to be more aggressive with the leases that they're offering and offering more modified gross leases. What we're seeing a trend towards also in Moscow is we've had a huge rash of really small warehousey shop demand for all kinds of different usages. And we're not sure if that's part of the fallout from the auto industry pretty much disappearing from Moscow, and people wanting to do little welding, businesses and mechanic type stuff, but we have a real lack of things to offer for that. So a couple cool things that have become occupied in the last few months is the old Sure Shot building, which is about 3,000 square feet along the Moscow Pullman Highway, that leased out to Stitches and Pedals at $7 a square foot, triple net. That Moscow Pullman Highway is so important to us because it has the highest traffic counts, and there's just very little availability along there. And then one very cool thing, the Stuckey's Feed and Seed building, which is to the south of the Rosars, has been leased out to two tenants. One is Hunga Dunga Brewing, they're taking over the Quonset hut, and the other is Moscow Urban Farm Company. And I don't know if you all know Adam, but he owns it, and his focus is to be able to provide produce for local restaurants. And that leased out at about $5 a square foot, modified gross. And then lastly, the Shirt Shack building is just an example of another building downtown with a lot of second floor, tiny, affordable office spaces, and those are all completely full as well. What we've seen a trend toward also, and what Shelley and I have been focused on, we just spent some time in Las Vegas at the ICSC convention, and hitting up retailers, as well as the mayor of Pullman. Where's Glenn? He came with us. It was great. And hitting up retailers to try to attract them to Moscow and try to fill some of these empty strip mall spaces. And the number one thing that they say every time is they want to know traffic counts and they want to know demographics. And if we're less than 20,000 cars, they pretty much don't look at us, but we're still trying. But it kind of echoes the importance of growth with our universities and our economic sector. And I think that's all I have for you. Thanks.
This might help me be able to do a better job since I've got the glasses on now. Okay, so now we're going to move on to commercial land sales. So commercial land sales in Pullman, and where we get our statistical data is from our multiple listing services. So just so you know where we get it, there will be some sales in both markets that we missed just because we didn't get the data. In Idaho, it's non-disclosed. In Washington, we might not have picked it up. So what we're giving you is from the Whitman County and the Latah County multiple listing services. There was one sale in commercial land in late in 2012 for $800,000. There were two sales in Pullman in 2013 for a total of $704,000, and in 2014 we have a few more things happening. So let me show you real quick. What the sales that we're going to highlight is lots 1 and 2 Southeast Bishop. That was the sale that was $800,000. That is also the land that was acquired where Dwayne Brailsford is working with Pat Garrett to build Pullman Building Supply. Dwayne, is that a do it best?
Yes.
It is. Okay, that's good to know because that's an important thing. It's also a franchise. $2.30 a square foot was the site that is adjacent to Toyota of Pullman, and it is now Time Warner Cable. So everybody now knows what that one is. On that property, that 6.2 acres sold for $2.30 per square foot. The last commercial sale, which was also on the corridor, for $1.39 a square foot, it was some land that Atlas Sand and Gravel bought. It's in the city of Pullman, but it is adjacent to the Wawaii Canyon Winery location, and they bought it purely because they bought the adjacent property to mine, and they're going to use this for an access. Commercial land sales in Moscow, there were 3 for a total of $474,000 in 2012-13. There were 7 for a total of $2,865,000, and those are highlighted as some interesting sales. We have at $10.25 a square foot the land that lies adjacent to the University of Idaho. The University of Idaho did acquire the property. It is adjacent. They've tried since 2001 to buy all the land that was available that was being sold by the railroad to expand their footprint. They were not able at the time to buy it all, so they've been picking up what they can when they can. And this property became available, and the only people that were looking at using it were purely wanting to build off-campus student housing. They were not looking at wanting to do anything in the way of what Legacy Crossing is goals, which is a mix of retail and housing and businesses. And they were purely just wanting to build housing. The university picked it up. It gives them the opportunity to expand and to handpick who they would want to work with if they did end up doing housing or a mixed-use development. 202 Spotswood Street at $46 a square foot. This is not what we call an arm's length transaction. Latah Federal Credit Union, who had a very poor location and was looking to move to a new location because of it. We gave it a shot to see if the adjacent property owner would sell his business, which was Southside Mini Mart. He did agree to sell it, and they closed on it just a month ago. And now Latah Federal Credit Union is going to have a premier location for a bank in the city of Moscow, for a lender, I guess a credit union bank. And 525 South Jackson Street is our new peak price. On the corner of Jackson and 6th Street, on the way to the University of Idaho, near Gambino's, the Ale House. This corner sold twice over the last couple of years, and this time it sold for $20 a square foot, which is the new highest price for a retail site in the city of Moscow. It has what Holly was saying. It has everything everybody wants. It's got huge amount of traffic. It's close to the biggest economic engines, and Jimmy John's is going to be in half of it, and we don't know who's going to be in the other half yet. It's kind of like that Starbucks at the Plus Mall. We don't know what's going on next to Starbucks either. So we're hoping it's somebody and versus another vacant space. Multifamily is ruling the world right now. Multifamily is ruling the West primarily, but housing growth is been in multifamily across the board nationally and especially in the West. California with some of the highest numbers, but we're also seeing growth in multifamily in the area. What I'm looking at here is statistical information about existing multifamily. So in 2012, there were 33 sales for a total of $8,300,000. In 13, there was a total of 16 sales for a total of $6 million. And in 2014, we currently have the multifamily sales, and this is existing, and they're not big units. We have a 1135, which is it looks like I think it was a duplex or a threeplex at $95,000 per unit. Hall Street at $134,000 a unit, and Hillside Drive at $117,500 per unit. Now, multifamily existing in the city of Pullman, nobody wants to sell it. It's too valuable. So there's not opportunity, or there would be more sales. There's lots of people that would like to buy multifamily land, but multifamily existing buildings, there is no opportunity. A lot of sales happened at the boom. And when that happened, the cap rates went as low as 4% from the money that was coming in from Southern California. They were selling in Southern California. They were reinvesting up here. They weren't really paying that close of attention to what they were doing because it was exchanges and it was some of the highest priced real estate. And I don't think we're back to the point where it's really marketable yet. I don't think it's gone up. And why would you when the rents are going up? It's a valuable place to be. Multifamily in Moscow, there were a total of 34 sales, 7,446,000 volume in 2012, 25 and 13 for a total of 6 million. In 2014, these are actually 13 and 14, but 1710 White Avenue, a fourplex sold for $93,000 per unit. A 12plex sold at $108,333 per unit. That's a very nice 12-unit apartment complex on the corner of Mountain View and White Avenue. And then 1330 South Main Street, which is one of those are the two large apartment complexes that were available on the Plus in the last year, and they all sold $51,000 per unit. That's an older property that was built in the 60s and renovated, actually it was built in the 80s in a very tight location and renovated over the years. Multifamily land, we should have a lot more of this than we have right now. In Pullman, there were 2 sales for $75,000, so they're very small properties in 2012. 1 in 2013 for $49,500. And those are Southwest Critchfield Court at $464 per square foot and Barnes Court for $3.18 per square foot. Now, there's been a lot of multifamily growth in Pullman, but those properties were already owned. The Grove bought a number of years ago, and Dabco Company has owned their land and been developing it over the years, taking a small hiatus during the time when there was not a lot going on. Multifamily land in Moscow. We're running behind Pullman again when it comes to construction. However, there's been some purchases that are going to be able to make it so that we have some new construction opportunities in multifamily housing on the Palouse or in Moscow. There were 3 sales at a total of $132,000 in Moscow in 2012, 4 for $622 in 13, and then within the last 6 months, 2300 White Avenue sold at $2.75 a square foot, and then a few months later, 1860 in sold at $3.29 a square foot. And most recently, a property on Mountain View sold for $5.10 a square foot, right across the street from the junior high school. It immediately was able to be divided into 3 duplex lots. So the person made a very good adventure. The lowest sale, which was, well, I guess it's that one, the $2.75, that's 4.39 acres. And that $2.75 marks a new low for multifamily housing prices. Okay, because I did it last year, I wanted to do it again, kind of give you an overall view of what's going on with single-family residential. In 2013, there were 257 sales in Pullman for a total volume of $59,900,000. In Moscow, there were 264, see, I get that 1,000 going and I can't stop. 264 sales, and there for a total volume of $53 million. So residential turnover is happening. So one of the things that we always talk about in commercial real estate is commercial follows residential. So we had a big residential growth, but we didn't get our commercial growth moved all the way forward before the economy faltered. So we have a little bit of makeup to do in that arena. But we're doing well overall. So statistically, Moscow and Pullman demographically are running neck and neck when it comes to price per square foot, the central business districts being the most favored places for people to currently occupy. And we have a lot of opportunities. So let me get to my bottom of my notes here. The one big thing that changed on the Palouse in the last few years has been hotels. So we have a lot of hotel opportunity, which gives Moscow and Pullman a unique opportunity. Robin talked about the outlying towns and what people are doing, bringing people in. Tourism is not something that we take lightly in this region, because if people come here, they love it. It's beautiful. I mean, look at the view we have from right where we are. It's beautiful, clean air, clean water, great place to raise children, lots of educational opportunities, and growing opportunities for employment. We have, following the hotels, we have fabulous restaurants. Years ago, we used to complain because there was nothing. There was nothing. We had Chinese food and Mexican food. Not to say those are bad, but that was all we had for a long time. And now we have sangria, myelina, black cypress, and I'm looking forward to the reopening of Swilly's. These will help us with the economic drivers of the area. Washington State University, University of Idaho, New St. Andrews, which is a private college, Schweitzer Engineering, MZ, and more. When we're looking at business recruitment, which is one of our primary focuses, is filling the retail spaces, but also recruiting businesses to the area, because if we don't grow, we die. And so I was awarded an opportunity to work for the city of Moscow, and I earned a contract to sell the Urban Renewal Agency's Alturas Tech Park. With that, we've been doing some dialing for dollars. We've come up with a 200-plus list of businesses that fit the needs and fit the demographics of the market, and we've been calling them and sending them information and trying to see if we can get any legs on any additional business growth in that area. What businesses look for when they look to grow is they look at the logistics. So the big 3 that they look for is logistics. They want to know that there's affordable real estate, that there's a workforce, that there's great internet and broadband capabilities, and other things for them to be able to look at cost efficiencies. They look at transportation. They look at the highways. South Moscow, we still have a problem with putting a 4-lane road in. Hopefully that ends up being solved. In Whitman County, the transportation is great. Public transportation in both communities is great. We have an airport that we need to make sure gets finished. And it's probably one of the most important things to the longevity of this region is to get that airport so it is here. I've heard it said that if it doesn't grow, it may actually close, and that would be devastating to our economy and our market. Retail follows residential. Retailers look for location, 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 and we are out knocking on their doors. Again, Glenn Johnson went with Holly and I to the International Council of Shopping Centers this last year so he could hear directly from the retailers, what does it take for you to consider Pullman? And a city going and looking to recruit for their city is fabulous. It used to be that there was one city, Rancho Cucamonga, that went every year and they wore like fancy outfits and tried to make sure everybody knew that they existed. Their businesses grown off the end of the earth because they did promote themselves so well. But they also have, now there were hundreds of cities there recruiting because they know that the basis of their economy is sales dollars and brings in the money that helps the city to be able to do the work the city needs to do. They need money to do that. So we were recruiting. So we've been recruiting businesses, we've been recruiting retailers, and with everything that you've heard from Pete and Bill and Robin, it seems to me that everybody's on the same page. Jobs growth, and our communities will be strong and forever thrive. So with that, do you have any questions for anybody that spoke today? And I feel bad that I didn't introduce like the mayors of both towns, but we got mayors, we got county commissioners. So if anybody that has an elected office would please stand up so I can acknowledge them, I would appreciate that. There's a lot of you. Thank you. Thank you again for coming to our market review. We pull this off annually for the reason that we want to make sure that you know that you have a commercial real estate company that is specializing on the Palouse and that we are taking care of the details that go along with what's necessary to grow our economy. And with that, the magical drum roll I am giving away today, which I don't always do a drawing either, so that we're at a golf course. Golf passes for 2 right here at the Palouse Ridge. Thank you, where I am, Palouse Ridge Golf Course. So I'm going to draw for this. Actually, Holly, you do it. Does anybody have any questions from anybody? Wait.
Ooh, Whitney Aguilar.
Whitney Aguilar. Oh, yay! I hope you like the golf, Whitney. Ray, did you have a question?
Will some of the PowerPoints be available somewhere?
Oh, thank you for saying that.
There's a lot of data.
There's a lot of data, and we will post all of the PowerPoints on our website within the next day, and we have been videoing the whole presentation, so it'll also be available for you to view on our website, www.palousecommercial.com. Thank you very much for coming. I appreciate you.